Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Lindsay Glasgow, the President and CEO of Plan International Canada. I just want to first start by apologizing for the delayed start. Sometimes, as you know, these virtual meetings provide us with a few challenges behind the scenes, but fortunately, we managed to overcome them. So I'm truly grateful that we're able to connect virtually today with all of you to discuss the power of Gifts of Hope and to celebrate the profound impact of this program. We've all seen this last year millions of Canadians feeling the weight of the pandemic, but despite the circumstances, we witnessed this past holiday season an unprecedented number of people who made the decision to focus on compassion and hope by helping others. And many of you joining us today were the ones that made that decision. And as an organization, I just want to say we are truly grateful. Through our Gifts of Hope program, you helped make a meaningful difference to the lives of children and communities around the world by providing life-saving support for a better future. Your individual acts of compassion have contributed to an immense collective impact on real lives all around the world. And today we'll be discussing this impact on children and communities globally. During a time of great need and uncertainty, we were incredibly heartened to have our most successful Gifts of Hope holiday campaign in nearly 5 years. We had more than 25,000 Canadians sending close to 100,000 gifts. So this year truly demonstrated the willingness of people in Canada to step up as global citizens. So we're really thrilled to have some amazing speakers with us today, including our event host, Cheryl Hickey. Many of you know Cheryl as the host of ET Canada. Since Cheryl joined ET Canada in 2005, she's become one of Canada's most trusted entertainment news reporters, interviewing prominent celebrities and leaders. She's a journalist, an advocate, an entrepreneur, wife, and working mom who's passionate about protecting children's rights. Cheryl is also a dedicated Plan International Canada celebrated ambassador and has supported our organization for many years. Plan International Canada is so grateful to have Cheryl as a Gifts of Hope supporter, and I'm really thrilled to be welcoming her here today as our host. So thanks again to all of you for your support, and welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Lindsay, for that beautiful intro. Clearly, one thing I'm not is a tech person. If there's anyone to blame for the tech issues, everyone, I'm going to take it because I was the one who couldn't get here. But I don't have a fancy background like everybody else. You're seeing pictures of my family, but this is what it is. This is what we're doing. This is the at-home moment. So I am just so grateful to be here with everybody today and to be talking about this very important conversation about the impact of ethical gift giving. I always say be that friend that sends that gift, and this is so important that we're talking about this today. I'm personally a huge fan and longtime supporter, as you heard, of Plan International Canada's Gift of Hope program. Gifts of Hope may not be able to be wrapped up like that, traditional gift you often buy off of store shelves, but that in no way makes them symbolic. They are real gifts that unwrap really huge possibilities for those who receive them, like goats, school supplies, clean water access, to responding to emergencies like the global pandemic we are living through right now. My family and I received the Gifts of Hope catalog this past holiday season, and it was such a beautiful conversation starter. We really talked about the impact that these gifts can have around the world and understanding that making a gift from here, from home, and this conversation we were having really does affect people all the way around the world. And that planted that seed in them as small children that I'm excited to watch grow and watch them do great things. And I can say I was astounded at just how many different ways there were to give back. More than 60 gift options, which is amazing, all ranging in price points and responding to really important causes like food insecurities, gender equality, and of course, child protection. My kids helped me choose the COVID-19 kits this year, a gift designed to help stop spread the virus and protect the vulnerable, hard to reach communities around the world. As a longtime ambassador for Plan Canada, I know how important these gifts of hope are for so many communities around the world. And similar to everyone here today, I'm really looking forward to learning even more about the impact. So where do the gifts of hope go once they're purchased online and through the catalog? What does the process look like in the communities where Plan works? Well, I'm thrilled to get all those answers for you today and more with our really wonderful, powerful panel of experts joining us today. But before I introduce our panelists, we're going to quickly run through some housekeeping things. If you have a question for our panelists, please use the Q&A box, which is located at the top. Well, it's at the top and probably in your right-hand corner of your screen. We'll try to get to everyone in the questions as soon as possible. But if we don't get to your question, know that the Plan team will be responding to the most commonly asked questions in a follow-up email. We will also have an audience poll. It's an activity throughout the event where we encourage you guys to get involved. You'll be prompted to answer the poll by entering your answer in the Q&A box, and I'll prompt you once that's live. We'll also be sharing a short survey following the event, and we would love to hear your feedback. I mentioned I had tech issues. I mean, you could leave that out. That is totally up to you, but good feedback is good feedback. And we will share that survey link a little later in the chat. Lastly, we just want you to have fun and to feel inspired today. It's the most important thing. So speaking of an audience poll, let's get to it. We have one for you right now. Which gift of hope is your favorite? This is a tough one, I feel. So the options, as you can see, are food basket, girl power, a goat, school meals, and the COVID-19 kit. Enter your answer in the chat box using the numbers above, and Plan staff will announce the most popular choice in the chat, so you'll get to see that. All right, now we're going to introduce our incredible lineup of panelists. First, I want to introduce Stu Solomon, who leads Plan International Canada's Economic Empowerment Program projects. For 15 years, Stu has worked on integrating young people's needs into economic development, climate change, disaster risk reduction, and development programs. His focus is really to inspire local action through community engagement and build up that capacity of local organizations to develop and really manage and monitor any development interventions. He's really passionate about working with young people to help them use their stories to make that positive change. Welcome, Stu. Next is Sadea Hamdani, who leads the Gender Equality Unit at Plan International Canada. For over 20 years, she has promoted gender equality and the rights of women and girls through international development and humanitarian assistance across South and Southeast Asia, as well as South and West Africa. Her focus includes gender-based violence, child early and forced marriage, economic empowerment, and women and girls and sexual and reproductive health and rights. Sadea, we are so excited to speak to you today. I cannot wait. And lastly, we will be hearing from Phoebe Gasoga through a video recording. So Phoebe is an international development expert working as the country director of Plan International Malawi. So she has covered 20 years of professional experience working in the global south, advancing the rights of girls and children in the most vulnerable communities. She has worked with communities and local governments in the private sector, girls and boys and young people to drive long-term change at various levels. So Stu, we're going to start with you. Let's get started. Are you ready? Are you there? Is our tech? He's there. Oh, listen, we're rolling. This is good. First, we want to talk all things goats. Could you please tell us how the communities in the project participants are selected to receive the goats and how the goats actually get to these communities and who normally gets one?
It is a great question, Cheryl, and thank you so much for welcoming to this space. And I'm really excited to be talking to our diverse set of donors. So the recipients of the GOATS gift were selected in consultation with the communities. Yeah. Plan International has a long-standing relationship with our communities, and so we start by having small setup meetings talking about the project and explaining what the project is going to provide to them. And then in this project and our similar projects, in this project, we then identify vulnerable women and specifically target girls in the community to address the inequality and to help to build their financial independence. The project supports women with their financial independence by providing them a source of income, training them to grow their livestock business, and then works to establish their leadership roles in livestock groups so that they can maintain and grow sole control over the breeding and sale of the animals. We also work with men and boys in the community to participate in sensitization workshops, and the communities are specifically selected in areas where Plan International already works and has relationships with community members. For the project in Cameroon, we've worked in areas where savings groups are already established, and these savings groups allow women who have barriers accessing financial services and products to access loans and safely save money to support their personal needs and costs for their families. After the groups are established and trained, the goats were procured by Plan through local goat breeders in the marketplace, and the goats are quarantined and inspected by a vet to ensure their health, and that before they are then delivered to the community groups.
Okay, that's amazing. Now, do those who receive the goats through Gifts of Hope receive anything else with them? And how many goats are they given per family?
So the families that are selected for this gift receive a suite of packages to ensure that the support that they receive is as effective as possible. Each recipient is provided with training on animal welfare and husbandry, provided the vaccinations and supplies to keep their animals healthy, and supported to pass on the gift when the goats reproduce to support other members of the community. The project also provides more general agricultural training to improve the productivity and effectiveness of household farms and ensure that the goats have enough to eat. And Plan also provides training to help gift recipients with business and financial literacy skills.
Now, how do, having these goats, how does the family and really the children benefit best?
Yeah, so livestock can be an excellent lever for change in communities because it allows families to grow their assets and also to gain nutritional benefits from the goat's milk. As the livestock family grows, the families are able to generate income by selling the milk and eventually selling the animals to neighboring households. This money can help to cover essential household costs such as education, fees, food, and other goods that the household might need.
This is amazing and just such a sense of pride for sure. How are the goats a sustainable solution to tackling poverty in communities, you feel?
Yeah, so this project uses a pass it on model, which allows the families that receive the goats to support other members of the community. This allows us to sustainably transition Plan support out of the community so that they can grow the businesses on their own. And the goal is to have the households helping each other. The project uses a sustainable model for growing the livestock support in the communities by purchasing from local markets, by using the local agricultural extension workers, and where possible to support local farmers, veterinarians, and feed suppliers.
Can you imagine if all 200 of us bought a goat for a family after this event, the amount of change that we could push through? Like, just think about that for a second, guys. It's really incredible. I think we should all buy goats after this. I'm just saying. All right. So how are these goats a sustainable solution to, no, you know what, let's talk a little bit about COVID. I mean, can goats still support a family during COVID-19? And how have you had to pivot for the GO programs?
Yeah, and this support of the goats has been a really important strategy to help families during the COVID pandemic. Community groups who were established with their goats were able to manage the economic shocks related to the pandemic when COVID-19 struck, as the goats were able to provide a source of income. They were still able to care for the goats and use the manure to grow food, sell the excess produce in the market. But we were forced to pivot our programming to be able to reduce the number of people in trainings to be able to meet the World Health Organization protocols and to ensure safe hygiene for the communities where we work.
Amazing. So finally, because girls are really already some of the most vulnerable groups, most often denied their rights, we know that they are essentially at risk of harmful side effects from this pandemic. How do goats and livestock really support the girls in crisis?
Yeah, this is an excellent question. And we have seen that women and girls are disproportionately impacted by the pandemic across all of our programs and projects. Having independence at the household level to generate income has allowed girls in crisis, and specifically in this project, to help absorb the economic shocks related to the pandemic and other crises and disasters, and to avoid engaging in negative coping mechanisms, which can limit girls' access to their rights and put them at risk of early marriage or gender-based violence. We have also seen that girls in crisis have used their own money to purchase livestock to overcome the challenges from the pandemic and to be able to support them to generate their income. For example, Plan International has provided cash relief support to vulnerable girls in one of our projects in Bangladesh. And the money that was provided to these girls was then used to purchase goats to improve the family's livelihoods and reduce the economic stress on the family, which in turn reduced the vulnerability of the child to early marriage.
So we're now going to watch a short clip of a video featuring the impact of Gifts of Hope. Take a look.
Denje wakaleta mpongo chakalinga fyotatwe bagesa bapfileta bamani bodisha mpongo fimu ngabodisha ndalama fimu file batulipirira ko chikolo fimu ibola ko musamu fimu akudia bapulani barachakulisha abana mu community maningi bana bateyiwo bwenka buli barabatarikisha chikolo bana banakashi bwenka.
I'm very happy to see Monica at school. I'm proud of being Monica's father.
Mtorumbo bakatupa mpongo ku Canada ku Gift of Hope tokwambaya abatoreleshe bolesa babiri choro.
Thank you, Canada. Amazing, really amazing. All right, we're now going to hear from Phoebe Kasoga, the country director of Plan International Malawi, for a first-hand account of the impact of Gifts of Hope in communities they work in. This interview, of course, has been pre-recorded to assist with all the time changes and technical limitations, as Plan's global staff are really working extremely hard right now to support the communities. Here it is.
My name is Phoebe Kasoga, and I'm the country director for Plan International Malawi. The Gifts of Hope have been part of a powerful solution in the communities where we work, mainly because we have been able to conduct studies, particularly at the start of COVID-19. We conducted a study that revealed that a number of children were being involved in child labor in order to be able to get food and to fend for their families. But also we learned that some of the families were actually having 1 meal a day, some were really feeding on mangoes, which really affects the nutrition status of children, particularly those below 5 years. In terms of how we select communities that benefit from the Gift of Hope program that we manage in Malawi, we work with communities to determine who should benefit, who should not. We have a clear criteria that might include lactating mothers, pregnant mothers, persons with disability. Particularly in this instance where we've been dealing with COVID-19, the Gift of Hope food basket has been very helpful in provision of specific food items, for example, corn for food. It has been able to provide cooking oil, it's been able to provide beans, it's been able to provide the corn soya blend, which is very nutritious for our families. So that has really been very helpful. Our families have found that very, very nutritious, particularly where we have vulnerabilities, and it has helped to reduce what would have been negative coping mechanisms among our girls. We work with families, for example, that are food insecure, and maybe they can only afford 1 meal a day. We've gone through moments of food insecurity where families have had to eat mangoes for a day. So if we have a family like that, and we have a child who is 5 years and below, it means it would affect their ability to develop, because nutritionally they would not be developing well. So a single gift of hope would be able to change that pattern, because if we give nutritious food such as the soya corn blend, which is very nutritious, part of our food basket, it means that specific child is able to develop, is able to grow. Their cognitive skills will develop very well, their social skills will develop very well, but also then that means we are impacting their ability to even perform better when they enroll into school in their later years, because we know that those initial formative years of our children actually define a lot of their development. So if we can get that right, it means that we are bringing about change. So the gift that you give us through the gift of hope is able to change the life of a child. And even if it just changes the life of a single child, it is worthwhile doing it. The Gift of Hope COVID-19 kit will really be instrumental in helping us move forward in this COVID era. Small businesses have really suffered and some of them have closed. So the Gift of Hope COVID-19 kit would be able to help us support those families get back on their feet and reduce vulnerabilities in that way. The second way, the COVID-19 kits from the Gift of Hope would be able to support us specifically look at COVID-19, specifically personal protection equipment, but focused more on reusable masks that we use more here in the kind of work we do for our extension staff, because we need to demystify myths around COVID-19. There's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of inaccurate information, so we should be able to use the Gift of Hope COVID-19 kit to be able to address some of those challenges that we see, so that our communities understand that COVID-19 is real, COVID-19 is a killer, and that we need to come together, work together to be able to mitigate the risks of COVID-19. The other way that we can use the Gift of Hope COVID-19 kit is around menstrual hygiene management for our adolescent girls and young women. Access to menstrual hygiene products is a major challenge in our communities. So the Gift of Hope COVID-19 kit will enable us to train groups of adolescent girls and young women to be able to produce sanitary pads that they can sell at low cost, use them, but also be able to sell at low cost and be able to generate some income that will help them survive, because life has become very hard for many of our girls who fend for their families. COVID-19 has hit our communities in very different ways here in Malawi. We have seen major changes around child marriage numbers. For example, in some of the communities where we work, we have seen an increase from about 200 to 700 in a very short spell of time. We have seen teenage pregnancies grow significantly in one of the districts where we work, from about 200 to about 2,200. Certainly, it means that these girls that have been impacted, either they've fallen pregnant or they have been married off, or they have just gotten married. It means their lives have been changed. The course of their destiny has totally been changed. So a lot of our girls are really, really struggling. They are unable to put food on the table. We have seen an impact on education. Some of the schools have closed, and not everybody in Malawi can afford a computer. So it means these children really are not going to school. They are not studying. We are going to see long-lasting impact around the education of children. My message for every Canadian out there that has given to the gift of hope is thank you, and thank you. I cannot say thank you enough, because I know that you are going through a very tough time. COVID-19 has not only hit Malawi, COVID-19 has hit the entire world. I understand that you have gone through the same challenges, but yet still, you have continued to give. That is really exceptional. It has been very generous on your part. And on behalf of myself, on behalf of our staff, on behalf of the communities that we serve, I want to say a huge thank you to you. Always remember, whenever there is a dark cloud, there will always be a silver lining. There will come a day when we will be past this and it will only be history.
Such a powerful interview. So much to take in there. Thank you so much. As we all know, one of Plan International Canada's key focuses is girls' rights. Due to the impact of COVID-19, girls and all the strives made for gender equality are being set back here and really around the world. So, Dea, I have a lot of questions for you on that. But before we get there, we do have some time for an audience poll. So, why do you give to Gifts of Hope? There will be 5 to 6 options on the screen. Audience members will be entering those multiple choices there. What's the top reason you give to the Gifts of Hope? The options are as part of a charitable support, as holiday gifts for others, as general gifts for others throughout the year. For myself, I've never given one before, to share plans worked with others. What's your reason? Enter your top reason in the chat box using the number attached to each option. Plan staff will announce the top pick in our chat. And while you do that, we hear a brief message from Chantel Pang, Plan International Youth Ambassador who visited Gifts of Hope projects in Ghana.
For me, one of the most impactful parts about seeing the projects and witnessing the behind the scenes is the fact that we see that the community is working together to create the change. It takes a village to reach a child, and it holds so true for everything that goes on in the world, to see that a young kid who has aspirations to be a doctor can achieve their dreams by going to school, getting an education, and to see the elders and the adults supporting those dreams and also having the resources and support necessary to do so. It's really impactful to see that the work that we do in Canada and the work that are done abroad in different projects are all coming together to create a better world. For me.
That's fantastic. Okay, now I'd like to welcome Sadea. Excited to chat with you today. We know how powerful girls are, if only really given the chance to unleash it. Can you please provide us with some examples of the kinds of work the Girl Power Gifts of Hope supports?
Well, thank you, Cheryl. I'm so excited to be here and share some of my actually directly observed observations as well as our experiences. As you rightly say, every girl has inherent power and agency, but too often it is because of prevailing gender inequality that she is unable to realize her rights. And the Girl Power Gift is exceptionally unique in this way, because what it does specifically is address the barriers, the gender-related barriers girls face in realizing their rights. This would be by building their personal, physical, financial, and social assets. So for example, millions of adolescent girls around the world actually drop out of school while they are menstruating. Yeah. And this is simply because they do not have access to menstrual hygiene management facilities in schools. And this is where the Girl Power Gift jumps in and provides them with menstrual hygiene management kits so that they are able to go to school, and at the same time in schools, by helping to build latrines that are safe as well as water stations, so that girls can continue going to school. At the same time, when choices have to be made, and these are not easily made choices by families around the world, faced with poverty, faced with resource constraints, as to who's going to go to school, right? The choice will invariably be boys. Why? Simply because of, again, gender stereotypes and male preference. A girl's education will not be valued equally. And so again, the girl power gift in this way sort of provides families in such circumstances with cash transfers and vouchers so that they can buy school supplies or school fee subsidies, as well as providing incentives such as school feeding programs and food rations so that girls can continue going to school. I don't know, I mean, in Canada, we don't face such issues, but globally speaking, when public services such as health services or education services are discriminatory, especially towards girls, and do not meet the requirements of the unique needs of girls, they can be very disempowering, particularly for girls. So in this case, this gift allows for the training of teachers, health providers, in not only their technical skills, but also in terms of understanding how gender is a barrier. And finally, just one more example of how this gift is so powerful. We heard Phoebe, we heard Stu earlier on. This gift actually sets in motion a community-led movement for change, bringing together men, women, boys, girls in all their diversity, and sensitizing them to become active champions of gender equality and the rights of women and girls. And at the same time, it builds the very important and critical life skills of girls and boys so that they can raise their voices and decide for what is important in their lives. So that's just a snapshot of what this gift's power is.
Absolutely. So what about, you talked about it briefly there, but what about boys and men? Gender equality must be achieved really together. That's what it's all about. So how does the Girl Power gift work with boys and men to support girls?
Well, gender equality is about everyone being valued equally, being treated equally, being given equal opportunities in their lives, right? So men and boys are very much part of the equation, not only as partners in gender equality, but also as beneficiaries in gender equality, right? And so let's look at a couple of examples of how boys and men also benefit from the Girl Power gift, right? So when we create groups, boys groups and girls groups in communities, boys too are taken through an extended journey that is reflective, looking at gender inequality, particularly harmful masculinities and new masculinities, so they too can challenge unequal gender norms. And why is that important? Because remember, gender stereotypes and norms also oppress men and boys. They also impact them. They can actually create so much pressure on them to conform that they can be at risk of so many things, such as risky behaviors, becoming violent, going into gangs and things like that. So that's how this gift actually affects boys. And as I was saying earlier, this gift actually creates a community-wide movement, right? And so where everybody comes together for the change that is required, and men and boys, absolutely, any society which is more gender equitable benefits equally, where everyone is treated equally. And also, I mean, look at it from a practical point of view. When latrines or water stations, etc., are being built in schools, everyone benefits, not just for girls. It doesn't have a sign there saying girls only. Boys equally benefit. So this gift has a huge ripple effect for everyone in communities.
Yes, no, absolutely. So we've already heard that, COVID-19 and this pandemic is really unraveling previous gains for girls. So how has COVID-19, this pandemic, impacted gender equality in your eyes?
Wow, that is, Cheryl, such a massive question right now.
Yeah.
We have seen everywhere where we work, including in Canada, let me just add that, how deeply rooted and entrenched gender norms have resurfaced and are being re-entrenched. And what we're seeing is that the decades of progress that the world has made on gender equality is not only being set back, but is slated to go back into a downward spiral. So let's take a couple of examples, even here in Canada. Globally speaking, 76% of the world's sort of unpaid care work is done by women, right?
Yep.
That has gone up exponentially. Why? Because if girls are responsible for cooking, cleaning, washing, water, fetching water, etc., all that has become doubled because of COVID-19. Look at also this. I think Phoebe mentioned it. Child early and forced marriage is a coping mechanism for impoverished families. So it's easier to just let a child be married off so that they don't have to worry about her. And globally, we are going to see millions of more girls going into early marriage, which would not have happened otherwise. Gender-based violence in all its forms, particularly violence against women in intimate partner relationships, has gone up exponentially everywhere in the world. Already it was as high as 1 in 3 women facing or experiencing violence. But now that has gone up in some parts of the world by 30%. And globally, what we're hearing and the estimation is that if we don't do anything about this right now, the progress towards it is going to backslide by 30% as well. So COVID-19 has really been an eye-opener in really underlining the gender inequalities that exist and need to be addressed.
But the good news is with this program, there's hope. There's hope to put a stop to this and to come to a screeching halt. And that's why we're all here today. So this is what we all have to definitely get on to. Well, thank you so much for all that information. It's fantastic. You know, we have another poll here. How many additional child marriages could this pandemic cause this decade? That is, okay, these numbers are pretty wild. 3 million, 5 million, 9 million, or 13 million? The answer to that poll question, which you can see on the screen, is 13 million. It's a horrific number. And really we can stop this and prevent more of a setback for girls and their rights. So how has the Girl Power gift changed to address these needs, do you think?
So the Girl Power gift contributes to ongoing programs as well, right? And most of our program, as an organization, we are absolutely committed to gender equality and equality for girls, right? Particularly the rights of women and girls. We in our programming take what's known as a gender transformative approach, which basically means that all our work is designed to address unequal power relationships that are there between women, men, boys, and girls in all their diversity. And so this gift allows for not only empowering girls so that they can come together and work together to raise their voices and make decisions about matters affecting their lives. So it actually amplifies their voices. We talked about them having inherent power, but then that power needs to be leveraged and it needs to be amplified, right? At one level. The second level of change that this gift supports is where we talk about, creating a broader social enabling environment. And as Stu also mentioned, it is critical in this kind of programming to work with existing power holders, which are men and boys, as well as traditional leaders, religious leaders, as well as elder women in societies, right? And by creating awareness in them, mobilizing them to lead the change. And then yet a third level of change where we work is in making systems more responsive to the needs of women and girls and men and boys in all their diversity. So gender transformative programming is what this gift supports. And I can give you so many examples, but let me give you one quickly. Currently in the COVID era, in Bolivia and Peru, this gift is not only providing the essential sexual reproductive health and rights kits, so that the unintended pregnancies that Phoebe mentioned earlier are mitigated, right? But also bringing girls together in collectives through online platforms so that they can discuss issues like gender-based violence, child early and forced marriage, and collectively come up with solutions and keep their peer support networks going. That's one example of how this gift can contribute to gender equality, even as we pivot towards COVID-19 programming.
Thank you so much for all this information. Really do appreciate it. So we mentioned that we'd be doing some audience questions, and a couple have come in here. So the first one is for Stu. How do you go about establishing contacts within the actual communities where the Gifts of Hope operate? And how do you verify that these contacts are going to allocate and really deliver the resources that are part of the Gifts of Hope properly? Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah, this is a really important question and something that we think about as we're designing all of our projects. Yeah. So Plan International has long-standing relationships with the communities where we work. We are in our communities on average between 12 and 15 years. So we have these long relationships where we try to program to address different community needs. This allows us to build relationships with important community members and community leaders, with local governments, and to really understand who within these communities is in greatest need of support. This also allows our local staff to have really tight relationships with local organizations and to be able to understand the needs of these communities and to be clear on what the expectations from the projects are.
Okay, that's
For the second half about how we make sure the resources are distributed properly, we use this local contact to be able to monitor our projects, and we have extensive monitor and evaluation processes to help us learn from what we do and improve for future project development.
It's fantastic. Okay, I think we have, hold on, we have one more here for Sadea. How can we select the gifts that have the biggest impact at improving the lives of people in the communities where Plan works?
Aha, excellent question, because there's such an array, and you said there were 60 offered right now, right? How do you make that selection? So first of all I'd say is every Gift of Hope designed is a life-saving gift, as well as provides sustainable solutions and has sustainable impact in the communities where they go. And we heard a lot of testimonials around that. Every gift is rights-based, right? So it provides the first step towards nutrition rights, health rights, education rights, etc. But to me, I mean, I also purchase Gifts of Hope. When I look at it, I try and look at, in terms of greatest impact, is what is the highest match ratio to the gift I'm selecting, right? Because that multiplies your gift many times. So say, for example, the Girl Power gift, as well as the food basket and others, they're matched up to 8 times. So one gift will have 8 times the impact and reach way more people. That's a good way of looking at it.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, that's great. All right, so guys, that's all the time that we have for all the questions today. If we didn't get to your questions, I'm sorry. Blame me. Put it on the survey. It's mine. It's me. We'll have the experts go away and answer your most common questions and follow up with an email. So stay tuned for an update from Plan in the next few weeks. We'll also be including a recording of this panel if you just want to go back and you want to hear some of the stats and we'll have that for you. Now, for those looking to give back, because I hope that all 200 and something of you that are there will tell your friends, and you will give, and then your friends will give, and we can start this beautiful chain that will affect everyone around the world. And we're going to help with this pandemic relief effort. The COVID-19 kits are the perfect gift, as they are packed with essentials. They have hand soap, masks, hand sanitizer. They provide the communities with critical information on preventative hygiene practices and so much more. And as mentioned at the top, we are sharing a link to a survey in the comment box. The survey is not long, so do take a couple of minutes to complete it if you can. We would appreciate it. My name's Cheryl. Just put it in there. Plan International Canada staff welcome and appreciate all of your feedback. And I want to extend a huge thank you to our panelists with all of your knowledge. Stu, Phoebe, Sadea, I personally learned so much more about the gifts of hope and the positive impact that Plan Canada has around the world. And I'm really excited to, when the kids come home from school, we'll get at it again. This is, encouraged me to get it back out again. And it's a beautiful tool to talk with our kids and to encourage that the beauty of giving. Lastly, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time here today to be with us. I know everyone's busy on Zoom calls and doing all the things with their families and getting everybody together, but it really does mean a lot to Plan Canada and to me that you took the time to join us today. We got through that pretty well without all the technicals, didn't we, guys? I mean, it was a rough start, but we did it. So with that, I'm going to end it before all of a sudden we have a glitch and it's gone. So that's the end of the story. Thank you until next time, and be safe and be well, everyone. Bye.